everyone! Today we are going to be going over how to download, open, fill, and print your printable D&D character journal. Let's get started. So when you download your files off of Etsy, you will receive this file that contains a download link. All of our files are rather large, so we store them on Dropbox so that we're able to deliver you the best quality file. Besides from the download link, this file also has links to our YouTube tutorials, frequently asked questions, and many more helpful tips, so I do recommend checking it out. So when you open your file from this page, you're just going to start your download by pressing the big download button. This will automatically begin your download process. Depending on how your browser is configured, a few different things might happen after you press the download button. You might get a pop-up asking you where you want to save your file, in which case you could just press Save As and choose the file that you would like to use. I made a little file for tutorials, so I'm just going to use that here and make myself a little file for print tutorial and just save it into this file here. Other times, your browser may just initiate the download and put it directly into your downloads folder. It can be hard to see sometimes that your file is downloading when this happens. Most browsers will have like a little arrow button somewhere, usually at the top, where you can click on it and see where you are in your download. This can kind of go quick, so sometimes if it seems like you're pressing the button and nothing is happening, it's possible that the file has already downloaded directly into your downloads folder. So I would recommend going to your downloads folder and double checking that. If the file does go directly into your downloads folder, I do always recommend copying it and pasting it somewhere else so it'll be a little bit easier to find in the future. Okay, so as you can see, this file has downloaded. All the files will usually download as a zip file. If you are on a PC like me, to unzip the file, all you need to do is right-click and scroll down to where it says Extract All. You can just extract it into the same folder, or if you want to extract it somewhere else, you can do that by clicking Browse. And then when you have the location selected, you just press Extract. This will take just a second to complete. But as you can see, our file has been unzipped and now we can open it. If you are on a Mac computer, this step might be a little bit different, but it should be somewhat similar. I think on Mac computers, you can just double click on the files and it unzips automatically. So as you can see, we have downloaded the Scribes pack, which has quite a bit in here. If you just downloaded one of the single class character sheets, you may not have quite as many options here in this folder. It will probably just be your character sheet and some of the extra fillables. But because this is the Scribes pack, we have a few extras here, as well as all of the character journals for every single class. So from here, we can open our new character journal. If you just double click on it, depending on how you have your settings set up on your computer, it might go into like a browser, which can work depending on your browser again, but this does come down to the compatibility of your browser for reading PDFs and allowing fill-ins. So what I recommend doing just to ensure compatibility is to open this file with Adobe Acrobat. And you can do that if it doesn't automatically open in Adobe Acrobat on your computer. You can just right-click, go to Open With, and select Adobe Acrobat. This will ensure that you have the best compatibility experience with your printable character journal. As you can see, I have a lot of options on my Adobe Acrobat, and that's just because I have Adobe Acrobat Pro, which you don't need in order to fill out and print your journals. The free version Adobe Acrobat Reader will do just fine. You'll have a little bit less options here, but all of the basic functions remain the same. So with our file open, you'll notice if you click on this little bookmark tab here off to the right side, you can see that I have sectioned off this file to make it easier to navigate. These journals are large and meant to cover pretty much every scenario you might need in your adventure. So these bookmarks will help you navigate to the sections you want when you need them. You may also wish not to fill out or use every section of your journal, and that's fine too. We'll go over in our section about printing how to make sure you're only printing the parts that you actually need. You'll notice too, if you opened this in your browser, that those bookmarks also are there in the browser as well. They are built into the PDF, so you should be able to access these no matter what PDF software or browser you are accessing your journal from. Okay, so with your file open, the very first thing that you should always do is to make a backup file. If you form, fill, and edit right on top of the main file, then this file will forever have your character info in it. And if you decide to make another character of the same class later in the future, you would have to go back and delete all of your previous information, which, as you can imagine, might be a little tedious. So to start, let's just go to the menu over here and press Save As. And just go ahead and find a place where you can save this in your file. So I'm just going to go back to this folder that I made for tutorials, and I'm just going to make a new folder called Filled Character Journals. And I'm just going to give this a name. This will be Steve the Barbarian. So now that we've saved our file as a backup, we do still have our regular file completely available, and we can come back in here and fill in this however we would like. Okay, so with our file backed up, let's go ahead and start filling out your journal. Okay, so to start filling out your journal, it's pretty easy. All you do is click on any of the little boxes that are grayed out. This might be a slightly different color depending on your personal settings in Adobe Acrobat, but all you need to do is just click on one of these form fields and start typing. I've set this up so that you can easily press tab to navigate through to each little box. It is very intuitive and it should generally go right in order of how you would fill out your character sheet. Along with the fillable form fields, there are also places with pressable buttons. For example, on our skills, we can press the little buttons next to each skill to mark it as proficient. There is also a little spot next to each skill to identify expertise. It is important to note that some of the boxes you may find easier to leave blank so you can fill them out in your session. Things like tracking your spell slots or your inventory are bound to change, so it may make more sense to leave them blank for now. What I personally like to do is to keep a working copy of my character journal that I update after every session, so that way I'm able to write any notes in, update any inventory, or level up my character depending on what is going on in my campaign. And then I just reprint the necessary pages and fill them right into my character journal. So once you're happy with how your character journal is filled out, it's time to print. Let's save our file once more before printing. Okay, so just a quick note before we print. These journals were designed to be used in binders so that you can very easily just print one or two pages here and there, switch them out as needed to make a really easy system for you to constantly keep your character journal neat and updated. In some cases, with certain paper sizes, basically anything except letter size, it is easier, in my opinion, to buy pre punched paper. Unless you work in an office or have a robust home office, most of us probably only have a basic 3-hole punch, while many different sizes like A5 and B5 have a totally different hole punch orientation structure. I found that it's just easier to buy the paper pre-punched in order to save yourself time later down the line. Because of this, it is important to know what direction your paper filters through your printer. I usually like to start with a test sheet just so I can mark it and remember for later which direction I need to load my paper so that the pre-punched holes end up on the right side. All right, so let's get started with the printing. Note that I am using a PC, but these steps should be fairly similar on an Apple computer, but some of the options might be in different places. So if you are on a Mac, you might have to look around a little bit to find these options, but I hope you'll be able to stay with us here. So to print, all we're going to do is navigate to the main menu, and from the scroll down, just press print. This should pull up a printer dialog box. There it is. This part is important because this is how we will resize our files based on what type of printer we are printing on. So depending on your printer, you may have different options as to what you are actually able to print. And this is totally printer dependent. It really just depends on how old your printer is, what model it is, and what kind of features it has. I think most printers should be able to cover most of the basic things that I'm covering here today. And I say that only because my printer is almost 10 years old and it was the cheapest model that I could find. So I imagine if you have a newer printer, it probably can do a lot of these things, but certain printers may not be able to print double-sided, or they may only be able to print double-sided on certain sizes of paper. So definitely check your printer's capabilities before attempting to print, just to save yourself frustration later down the line. Okay, so a few things that I recommend right off the bat. I do recommend that you print this in grayscale in black and white. These journals were purposely formatted in black and white to make home printing really easy. In the section that says pages to print, you can either select all if you are printing the whole journal, or you can specify certain pages just by clicking on the pages button here and typing the page numbers that you would like to print into the box here. Note that you can print multiple ranges of pages by separating them with commas. So if you need to print just pages 1 to 2, and then you need pages 5 to 6, and then 8 to 9, you get the idea. You can kind of separate it that way so that you're only printing the pages that you need. If your printer is capable of double-sided printing, I do highly recommend it. To enable double-sided printing, just check the box that says print on both sides of the paper, and it'll default to the long edge, which is the one that you want. So with all these options set up, let's get to our paper size. These journals were formatted to be able to print flawlessly on A4, letter, A5, and B5 paper sizes, but there is a little legwork in order to get them to print cleanly on any of these papers. So first things first, we're just going to make sure we're clicking the size button here on page sizing and handling. And we're going to want to select the option for fit. Whatever the page size is that we're printing on, we want it to fit to the page. From the printer menu, we're going to click Page Setup here at the bottom. This should bring up a separate page setup box. Under the paper size, we need to select from the drop-down menu the paper size that you are using. In my case, I'm going to be using B5 paper, so that is the one that I'm going to select, and then I'm going to press OK. There is another way you can access this prompt. If you see right up here by the top next to the printer that you have selected, you can press on Properties, which will bring up a few more options. One of them actually over here I want to note real quick. Sometimes in Adobe specifically, you have to come in and change this to black and white, or it will still try to print color, even though you have the print in grayscale button selected here. So if you are running into issues with that, come into this box and make sure you press black and white. But from here, if you press on Advanced, you can see under paper size that the paper is set to B5 because that is what I set it to in the other dialog box, but this is just another way of being able to switch that paper size to what you want. So you can use either one, they both work, and then we're going to press OK. And that's it. So as you can see up here on this little section, the size of my paper has changed to correlate with the size of paper that I'm currently printing on. If I were to change this again to A5 paper, you can see that this little text right here has changed to reflect the paper size. It's just another way of double checking that you do have the correct paper size selected. And if you need a little preview, you can scroll through and see exactly how this will print on your paper size. So that's it. Now you can just press print and your journal will print. Now I do have this set to print all 188 pages, which might be a little overwhelming. You might not want to print all of it at once. And as I said earlier, I do recommend printing a test page just to make sure that it's all coming out correctly, that the holes on the pre-punched paper, if you're using pre-punched paper, are on the right side. Just remember again that printing compatibility is based off of your printer and its capabilities. Some printers can't print double-sided, some can't print on X size paper. It really depends on the equipment you have. If all else fails, you can just pop off your finished PDF to a local print shop and have them printed for you. It's not usually terribly expensive, and you will get the best quality print from a print shop. From here, with our journal fully printed, all that is left is to assemble it in your book or binder however you see fit. Feel free to mix up the sections to best suit your needs. If you are interested in printing these journals as a booklet, we do have a separate tutorial for that, which is linked below. We hope that you found this tutorial helpful and that you are able to successfully print and assemble your character journal so that it is ready for your next adventure. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our channel for more helpful videos and tutorials. Thanks!